it's almost 100 gigs. Two things I want to point out here. One is transparent to the end user and also the application Microsoft, right? I didn't have to do anything special. It automatically found the new quote-unquote virtually provisioned space and it just refreshed it. Second thing that I want to point out here is I didn't have to send an email out to my community and say, hey, I'm doing some administrative work on this particular file system. I need for you guys to log off for an hour. So again, transparent. Basically what I did was clicked on a couple of items here within the GUI, and very quickly I was able to give this business unit the ability of saying, oh, okay, great, I have 100 gigs. Okay, so that's one thing I want to point out. Also, do right-click Properties, and let's take a look at the free space. Let's take a look at the use space. So keep those numbers in mind, because we're going to go back to the GUI and we're going to enable data duplication. So let's go ahead and hit on, and we'll come down here and we'll hit OK. I want you to observe how easy it was to enable dedupe. And if you take a closer look, I'm going to go ahead and double click on this file system. If you take a closer look, it was simply clicking on the radio button, set it, forget it. What basically is happening now is I'm going to find all those files that are the same, shortcut them, offload the inode, which means I'm going to give space back to you, and then I'm going to take those files, put them in that hidden repository within the same file system, and then apply compression. Okay, so those are the two steps that are involved. So on, and that basically represents that I want data dedupe to occur. Data dedupe is at a file system level. Off, things aren't working out for me. I don't necessarily see the single instance saving, so maybe not a good candidate for dedupe. That could be like, say, a database. Suspend basically means that yes, I want to keep those files, that have been deduped. I want to keep those deduped, but I may be doing a say a big tape out, my monthly tape out process on Sunday. I've scheduled this to run, this dedupe process to run every Sunday. So I don't necessarily want to have these competing cycles, although this is a background task. Data duplication is a background task, so there shouldn't be any type of contention there. So that's what those guys basically represent. I'm going to go ahead and hit the refresh button here. So again, the one thing that I want to point out is one button, set it, forget it, off and running. So what we've seen here is that it ran. It found 3,200, or it scanned over 3,000 files. Ultimately, there was a savings of 33%. Again, mileage will vary. I have another file system that I run dedupe that's 38%. So depending on the type of files, will vary. So if we go back to the client and do that right-click Properties, now we have some savings back here. So again, very, very easy to use, very easy to basically set it, forget it, you're off and running. Very simple. Okay, so the next thing is, we talked about creating a file system, we talked about the virtually provisioned piece, we talked about data duplication. What if I have a user community that accidentally deleted a file? How are you doing it today? How are you getting that file back today? So there are several ways that you can get that file back. One is tape. One is hopefully they have a copy somewhere on their desktop. Or thirdly, using checkpoints. A checkpoint is the most reliable easiest and really kind of the best methodology in terms of getting that data back. So let's go ahead and minimize this and come over to the checkpoint box here, and let's create a new checkpoint for that file system that we've been working on, which is called dedupe. So I'm going to go ahead and click new. If you notice here, while this is transitioning, there we do have a scheduler, which means I can build a schedule that says I want to keep, well, in fact, once I get done with this, I'll show you what the schedule, so you can kind of get a feel of really kind of the granularity that you can get. So here we have, this is a file system in question, but you'll see all the file systems that I've created up to this point. In this case, this is the file system that I want to create that checkpoint. That checkpoint, again, is basically a snapshot of how that file system appeared at that particular given time. So let's call this fs1 underscore ckpt underscore 1, let's say, for example. So basically what this did is it created a checkpoint of this dedupe file system. So what does that mean to you? Well, what that means to you is, if I go back, let me go ahead and minimize this so it gives us a little more room here. What that means to me is I, the user, have this share. It's been mapped to me. I double click on this guy, highlight that, hit delete, yes. In essence, what I've just done is I've deleted that file. Now, you have options, as I mentioned before. You either go to tape, you hope that they go away, or you hope that they have that stored on a thumb drive or a flash drive, or whatever. But there are other ways, specifically with our system, and those different methods are right-click, properties, previous version, and find the file, stamp on it. Oops, wrong one. Let's see, today, there it is. So if you notice, it was that X-Man proposal, whatever it was there. So highlight, drag and drop, yes. I, as a client, have just restored a file that I accidentally deleted. That's one way. Right-click, properties, previous version, find the directory, drag and drop. Now, I have customers that say, no way, I don't want to give that functionality, even though that checkpoint is a read-only checkpoint, so there's nothing that the user community can do to ruin that checkpoint. But again, some people say, no way, no how, I don't want to give that functionality to my clients. The other way that you can do it is, we have a hidden directory called the CKPT directory, and what you'll notice here is that we have all the files. Now, there's nothing to say that you can't mount this directory and do your backups from it. There's many ways of doing it. The last way of getting that file back is using